Hey guys, I'm Mark from The Analog Process. Today I have a video response to a video that I saw from the Art of Photography YouTube channel. Now before I get into any of that, I just want to say a few things about their channel. First off, it is fantastic and you should definitely subscribe and watch all of his videos. The guy knows what he's talking about. All the videos are spot on and I appreciate all photography channels, but especially his. I find them very helpful. Now, this video is called Why Gear Matters, and it is, at first sight, directly opposed to Art of Photography's new video, which is called Why Gear Doesn't Matter. Now, before I really dive into my thoughts on the topic, I just wanted to point out that this video is not opposed to the Art of Photography's video on why gear doesn't matter. In fact, I agree with most of their points, and I definitely agree with the spirit of the video, which I believe is if you only have an iPhone, you can go out and make great work with an iPhone, and what gear you have shouldn't dictate your ability to produce good or not good work. And I think that is absolutely true, and I think that they are spot on, and I think that needs to be said and stated over and over and over again, especially as photography is looked at more and more technically. I think most of the photography videos, if not almost all of them out there, are about gear, right? They're about equipment, reviews, things like that. And there's not very many videos out there, maybe rightfully so, about the critical side of photography or the academic side. Again, that's totally okay. They're probably not as entertaining as checking out the newest Nikon D5. But with that said, I think that it is important that there's this kind of dialogue every once in a while on YouTube, and I hope to continue it now as a response to the art of photography.
But let's say just for a second that you go into an art museum or a gallery or something like that, and you walk through the door, and on the opposite wall, 15, 20 feet away, there is a picture. What is it about a picture that's going to draw you in? And let's just say it's one photograph. It's probably not going to be the megapixel count. It's probably not going to be any kind of pixelation or artifacts that you're going to see, or film grain, or how it was enlarged, or what paper it was printed on, or what kind of frame it has around it. All that stuff is secondary. If even secondary, it's probably like way down the line. What draws you in is whether the photograph is interesting or not, and that's it. The medium should not matter. That has nothing to do with the photograph.
Now, in the Art of Photography video, it's noted that if you go into a magazine and look at an image on the wall, you're not thinking about whether it's taken on an iPhone or an 8x10 photo, whether it's a found image. It's all about the image itself. Effectively, that the tools that went into making that image don't really matter. And that is something that I think is somewhat problematic. Now, of course, the Art of Photography was probably using that example as an intentional oversimplification. But despite that, I really do believe that the gear and the equipment used to create an image absolutely affect how we perceive the image, how we read the image, and in that respect, gear absolutely matters, if not one of the most foundational aspects of interpreting an image. Would the Faces series be as poignant if it was made on an iPhone rather than a medium format Hasselblad? Gear here absolutely matters, and it's paramount to our understanding of this particular series. The using of the medium format digital Hasselblad as opposed to an iPhone or a Polaroid or anything else absolutely radically changes how we approach the work. And this is not just philosophic. These images are massive and giant and striking. Would Jeff Wall's piece, Dead Troops Talk, really be able to speak about our inability to comprehend the horrors of war if it was shot on a small 35mm camera as opposed to an 8x10? And the answer, of course, is no. How that work is presented and how we approach the work itself based on the gear that was used to both take the image as well as output the image onto a light box rapidly changes our understanding and therefore appreciation. It's what changes us work from being good work to being historic work. And it can go in the other way. If we look at Run Hong and his images of the Chinese youth that are all taken on a very low quality, I think it's a Contax G2 35mm point and shoot, it certainly wouldn't be what it is if it was taken with a 4x5 formal and structured camera. Part of the charm and part of the beauty of Run's work has much to do with the fact of the format of camera that is being used. In that sense, gear does matter. Now, the fact that it's taken on a less quality, for example, camera than a $50,000 Hasselblad That's not what we're talking about here. Criticism is all about describing what we see, describing the image. And once we do that, we can start interpreting it. And then we can determine, is this successful? And the gear that is used to make the work is absolutely part of that evaluation. And that's not something that we can just brush under the table and say that the image exists in a void. There is no image in a void. Everything is part of that image we need to consider. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is that the wrong gear can result in unsuccessful creations. Again, we looked at some examples here, but the fact is that work that could be exceptionally successful taken on an iPhone can be a complete failure taking on an 8x10, even if the image to our eyes on a museum wall from far away looks the same. It changes our meaning and understanding of an image. So the point of this is that gear absolutely matters, but it's not whether you have good gear or bad gear. It's what kind of image are you making? What is the goal of your work? What is the image trying to say? What is the interpretation of the image, not just to you as the artist, but as to society as a whole? And how does the gear that you're using influence that? The medium is the message, and shooting on an iPhone versus an 8x10 add very different elements to an image that we just can't glaze over. There's vast differences between the two, and images, again, just don't work in a vacuum. We need to consider all of that when we interpret and evaluate a photo. Some works to be successful need to be created with expensive equipment, and some work needs to be created with really cheap equipment. Some work needs to be made with an 8x10, and some work needs to be made with a Game Boy camera from the 90s. Some work needs to be created with natural light, and some work, like Gregory Crewdson's images, need to be created with tens of thousands of dollars worth of lighting and rigging equipment. So all of this is to say that gear does matter, but better gear doesn't mean better images. Any gear at all, no matter what it is, can create groundbreaking images, and I think that is the heart and soul and point that Art of Photography was making in their video, but I wanted to really clarify here at Analog Process. The easiest way to say this is not that gear does matter or that gear doesn't matter, but to say that the right gear matters for the right image. And as a photographer and as an artist, it's your job to negotiate that and to find out where that equilibrium lies in your own work. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. I know it's a little bit esoteric, but I feel like it's really important, especially because of the success of that particular video that Art of Photography did, and also the obsession, healthy and good obsession that we all have, including me, with technology and new and shiny equipment. So with that said, guys, if you enjoy this video, subscribe, and most importantly, because this is more of a critical video, criticism not in the form of negative or positive, but simply in thinking, I really want to hear what you guys think. How does gear matter? In what ways does gear matter? In what works does gear matter more than other works? Post in the comments below, let me know. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. And on that note, I will see you guys in the next video.